Hi guys, this is homework 8-1. We're going to be talking about just going over some of the problems, so therefore you can make sure you can get all this homework done. Anyway, so here's the deal. Number one, I made it more complicated than it needed to be, so I'm changing a few things. Assuming that on day one there's one person sick, determine how many new people are getting sick on each day. And the only other thing you need to change real quick is just multiplying this by 1. Okay? I'm going to go over it real quick, but essentially you have one person that's sick, and then that person's getting 3 more people sick. Okay? So we just change that to a 3 also. Okay? Now, each one of those 3 people is getting 3 people sick as well. Okay? That's basically the situation you have to think about when you're doing this problem. Now, modeling the situation, we started with one person on day 0, okay? And on the first day, we got 3 people sick, which I indicated right here. Now, each one of those 3 people got 3 people sick, so we do 3 times 3, which gives us 9 people sick. Okay? Now, if you take a look at the next one, we have 3 days. When you think about it this way, you have to take 9. We're going to do 3 times 3, the original, and multiply that by 3. So therefore, this is really going to be 3 to the 3rd power, which is equal to 27 people getting sick. Now, you take the 3 times 3 times 3 that we did for number 3, for when the day number was 3, and multiply that by 3. So how many 3's are we multiplying together? We're multiplying 4 of them. Okay? And therefore, we get 3 to the 4th power, which is 81. Okay? And what you should notice every single time, we start with 3, you're going to multiply by 3 every time, not starting with 3, sorry. Start with 1, and then you're going to multiply it by 3 every time. So therefore, let's go through the choices, the question. Do you notice a pattern for each day? What is it? Well, you notice we multiply each one, multiply the previous day by 3. Okay? Now, can we come up with an equation? Well, we started with 1. Okay? First off, we're starting with S as the number of new sick people every day. We're going to take the 3 and raise it to the d power. And if you're not sure, go take a look. When we had 1, we multiplied 3 by itself 1 time. Same thing as 1 times 3. D2, we multiplied 3 by itself 3 times. Now we started realizing the pattern. The 3 here matches with the 3 there. The 4 there matches with the 4 in the exponent. So therefore, the number of new sick people is going to be 3 raised to the d power. Now, assuming nobody is getting better, how many people are sick after 8 days? Okay? So basically, assume that everybody's still contagious. Okay? You're going to do 3 raised to the 8th power. Okay? And if you use your calculator, okay, we have 3 raised to the 8th power is 6,561 people are getting sick on the 8th day. Okay? Now, what's important to realize about this is, just thinking in the real world, stay home when you're sick, okay? So you don't have to worry about it. Okay, now, number 2, which of the following is a decreasing exponential function whose y-intercept is 20? Explain your answer. Well, remember, we talked about this in class. We have the formula, a times b to the x power. Now, a, the number that's in front of the exponent, is going to be the initial value. Taking a look at all these choices, notice I have an a value here, which is 20. Okay? Sorry, I don't know how blurry that was. Okay. Sorry about that. Notice that we have a 20 here. Okay? So this is going to be our initial value. Okay? Now, take a look here. This is actually a linear function. Take a look here. Oh, we got the 20 in front of the growth factor. So therefore, that's still in contention. Now this one, we have an exponential function, but then we're adding 20. The initial value is going to be right in front, So therefore, this is eliminated as well. Now, what's the difference here is the keyword, the decreasing exponential function. We call that the decay function in class. So one thing to look at is I have 4 over 3 and 1 over 3. Now remember, when b value is under 1, then it is going to be a decay. When it's bigger than 1, it's going to be a growth. So if you take a look here at 1/3, that is going to be smaller than 1. Oh, sorry, 1/2. 1/2 is going to be smaller than 1, so this is going to be our decay function. Okay? Now if you take a look here, 4 over 3, that is going to be a growth function. Okay, let's take a look at number 3. Which of the following functions would best describe the data in the table? Now remember, we talked about this originally. You have that same function, y equals a to the bx, where a is the initial value. Now the initial value is when x equals 0. Now in this case, when x equals 0, what do we have? We have the y value being 2. So therefore, the a value is going to be 2. Now how do I get from 1 to the next one is going to be deciding what b is. So how do I get from 2 to 10? We actually multiply it by 5. Okay. Same thing here. Check it. 10 times 5 is 50. So therefore it's going to be 2 times 5 to the x. And that'll be your final answer. Okay? And that will match with choice 4. Okay? You know I don't like to do multiple choice very often. Okay, let's take a look at the next page. Now graphing the basic exponential function. Okay? We did a little bit of this in class, but in this case, what we need to do is you're going to take 2 to the x, which is evaluated at each point. So when x is 0, we plug it in, so 2 raised to the 0 power, which you should remember is 1. And if you don't remember, you can always use your calculator. In this case, when f is 1, we're going to plug in x is 1, so 2 to the first power, which is 2. Okay. Now in this case, we have x is going to be equal to 2, so it's going to be 2 raised to the second power, which is 4. Okay. And finally, f of 3 is when x equals 3. We're going to do 2 raised to the third power, or 8. Okay. Now, let's plot these points. Okay. So when x is 0, y is 1. Okay. When x is 1, y is 2. When x is 2, y is 4. When x is 3, y is 8. Now, the next part wants us to deal with the negative values that are going on. So in this case, I have f of negative 1. Remember, this is when x equals negative 1. So, in this case, we take 2 raised to the negative 1 power. If you put that right into your calculator, you get 1/2. Okay. Same thing here. When x equals negative 2, you plug it in. So 2 raised to the negative 2. If you put that in your calculator, it'll end up being 1/4, or 0.25. And when you do the last one, when x equals negative 3, you plug it in. Therefore, we got 2 raised to the negative third power, which gives us 1/8, or 0.125. Okay. So now we can sort of plot those points. Notice, I can't really graph these super well, but you just need to remember, it's never going to get to 0, but it's going to get pretty close. Okay. So now if we connect these, we'll have our exponential function. Okay. Okay, now let's take a look at the last part, number 5. This is dealing with percents. So all you need to do for a percent, remember, is to move the decimal point over. So we have 0.15, and since there's an of, you're going to multiply by 35. Okay. All you have to do is put that right into your calculator. So you have 0.15 times 35, which gives us 5.25. Okay. Now the next one, even though it says 2.7, we take this decimal point and move it over twice. And remember, you have to put the little, we have to add the 0 as a placeholder. So 0.027 times 90, so put that in your calculator. and I get 2.43. Now, the last part, we have 12.8. You're going to move the decimal point over twice to get 0.128 times 240. And when we do that, we get 1.128 times 240 in our calculators. We end up getting 30.72. Now, number 6 is more of a thinking question. Sarah's rent increased from $560 per month to $600 per month. Her friend Emily had a rent increase from $625 to $875. Who had the larger percent increase in their rent? Remember to set up your ratios and then use using the original rent. Now, when we're talking about the ratio, remember, okay, this is going to be a percent So now let's take a look at number 6. Sarah's rent has increased from $560 per month to $800 per month. We're going to end up looking for the percent ratio, the percent increase. So what we need to do first is figure out how much of an increase she actually had. So 600 minus 560, okay, and that'll give us $40. And what we can do is set up a ratio. Okay, so what we do is you set up your ratio, $40, okay, over 600, the original rent, is 560, equals x over 100. Now, you can use your awesome superpower cross multiplying. So we end up getting 100 times 40 equals 560x. We're going to divide by 560. Divide by 560. So we do all this number in your calculator. So you just do 100 times 40 divided by 560. Right? And then end up getting that x is 7.14%. Okay? Now, let's take a look at Emily. Emily had her rent increase from $825 to $875. So that's only a $50 increase. Okay? You can figure that out by subtracting them. Okay? So I get $50. Now to set up a ratio, you're going to do 50 over the original $825. Okay? And that'll be equal to x over 100. Since we already used x, I'm going to change this to a y, just so we don't have to get confused. You cross multiply, so you got 50 times 100. Whoops, I almost went off the page. Equals 825 times y. I'm going to divide by 825. 825. So we're going to do 50 times 100 divided by 825, and we get y is equal to 6.06. So even though Emily had a bigger increase, she had $50, Sarah only had $40. Sarah's increase in rent is 7.14%, and the reason for that is because her rent was originally lower. Okay, so the answer is who had the larger increase would be Sarah. Okay, now let's take a look at number 7. The school newspaper surveyed the student body for an article about club membership. The table below shows the number of students in each grade level who belong to one or more clubs. So what we need to do to find the percent, okay, if there's 150 students in the 12th grade, what percentage of the 12th grade students belong to more than one club? So the easiest way to do this, circle the ones that are in more than one club. Let's add them together. So I got 27 plus 23, which gives us a total of 50 students. Now we're going to set up a ratio. So it's 50 over 150. Okay? And that'll be equal to x over 100. Okay? And if you do the cross multiplying, you'll get 50 times 100 equals 150 times x. Okay? We're going to divide by 150. Okay? And we put all that in your calculator. So 50 times 100 divided by 150 equals 33.8 0.33%. That's 1/3 of the people. Okay? Okay, so that was the end of that. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. But if you have any questions, you can feel free to stay after school sometime, or you can send me an email at adunbar@southcountry.org. Thank you. Have a good night. Bye.